Hey guys, Mono here with a new Hella Loose dev briefing, which brings in a ton of information about a variety of different topics. We get some info on the British forces coming with update 14 in June, as well as some questions being answered about game modes, features, and future updates, and lastly, some details on how they plan to fix the issues brought in with update 13.5. So just so you know what to expect, there's some good news and there's some bad news here. Let's start with the bad news. Regarding the issues brought in with update 13.5, what they are saying is basically that they are aware of the issues regarding the server performance, the rubber banding, the reload animations on the bolt action rifles, as well as a bunch of other things that I wasn't aware of, as tank shell penetration issues and some third-person sprinting animation issues. Unfortunately, what they said is they aren't planning to fix these issues with a hotfix, which they were, but now they are basically rolling that into update 14, which is coming in June. And I think that's extremely disappointing news. It seems like they developed a fix for these issues, but then they found out that they were able to replicate the problems again in that patch. So yeah, they're rolling these fixes into update 14 because they need some more time to work on them. Honestly, I wish they just rolled back the game to update 13 so we could have a better experience with the game in the coming weeks until that update rolls out in June. I asked about this and they replied it's not something that they are currently considering, which means no, it's coming in June. And yeah, I think that's really bad news for pretty much anyone playing the game right now. But moving on, let's go to the Q&A section regarding future updates, modes, and features. First off, the more meaty info here is that the two new maps for the British forces will be El Alamein and Market Garden. Now, they didn't exactly say Market Garden, but they said the rolling farmlands of Holland, which I think means something like Arnhem. That's the map that I would expect. They are going to reveal more information about this in future dev briefings, but they did show some screenshots of El Alamein, which look absolutely amazing. I think it's really cool to see completely new assets, new architecture, a totally new environment, like a different ground texture basically, which I think, I don't know, it's amazing to get a map that looks remarkably different from everything else in the game, because I do think maps, for example, like Kharkov, we already had some snow maps in the game, like Foy, and Kursk does look, you know, fairly different, but not as different as something like the desert. So I think it's really cool that we get a change from what most of the maps in the game look like. Going back to a previous question regarding the server browser for console, there's some good news here, and the answer is basically yes, it is coming, but they need more work. They say a large amount of work needs to be done to bring console in parity with PC. So they are looking at implementing this in maybe update 15, which should be the update coming in December. So it is coming. It's coming late, I guess. But I think this is really good news for all console players that were wondering if they were in fact still working on the server browser for console. Yes, they are. So I guess you guys just need to wait a bit longer. I'll be skipping over the DLC news because they don't really say anything of note. So moving on to some absolutely massive news is that they are looking to separate the way that the vehicles, loadouts, and cosmetics work in the game to make them map specific. This is absolutely amazing. This is a feature I wish the game had since launch, because in order to make the maps truly feel different, you just have to have different vehicles on them. You know, if you have a Tiger and a Panther and, you know, a Lux in every single map in the entire game, it just gets very samey in terms of the options that the teams have. So restricting these vehicles and loadouts even, so they are only available on the maps where it would make actual historical sense for them to be available. Like, imagine maps with no heavy tanks where you just have light tanks or medium tanks fighting on. Or maybe maps with fewer automatic weapons, more vehicles. I always thought Kursk should have many free tanks spawning at the HQ, like completely free tanks, because that would actually make that map feel like the massive tank battle that it was. Right now, it's kind of the same amount of tanks as any other map in the game, so it doesn't feel special in that way. So I think this is game-changing news. I mean, it really is. It's going to change the gameplay of many maps in the game, which I think is going to be good. Like, I'm really looking forward to that. Next up, we have some information regarding the non-communications tools. So they're not going to be emotes, which is what I thought. There would be like hand signals or something. They are going to be visual markers, and they said in-game commands, which I don't really know what they mean by that, but I expect something like the squad leader's marker wheel, but a reduced, simplified version with maybe semi-permanent markers for the squad members. Maybe we get the ability to draw on the map, which would be very, very cool. I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. They did also clarify what the difference between the two new game modes is going to be. So they said objective will see players working together to complete set tasks. So I imagine things like planting dynamite to destroy AA guns, maybe then moving on to capture a point and stuff like that. They didn't really go into specifics here, unfortunately. And skirmish mode is going to be just battling over a single capture point, which means it's not just a team deathmatch mode. So I hope they are very careful with how they set up skirmish mode, because the way those modes work with improper map design can lead to a lot of camping of one of the team's headquarters. If one team happens to dominate the map and control that capture point, then you can move on to basically camp the enemy coming out of their spawn. It's something that's happened in many games of infantry focused nature. So I really hope they're taking that into consideration. Next up, they're talking about artillery. Are mortars coming? Yes, they are. We don't currently have a time frame on this feature, but it is something that we want to include. The way I interpret that is that they are unsure about what they actually want to do with the artillery, but they are looking into it. So I don't expect the mortars to be coming this year, which is unfortunate. But then again, with the amount of content we are getting, I guess it's to be expected. They are also going to be tweaking armor and other vehicles that are currently in the game, as well as the ones that will be rolled out in future updates. And here they are asking for specific suggestions. I know the tanking community is going to have a lot to say about this. So definitely jump into their Discord, discord.gg/HellaLoose. Go to the feedback sections and definitely leave your message there. I know they do take a look at those suggestions, so definitely if you have some ideas, then let them know. They are also improving some features for server admins, which is always good news. And then regarding the Finnish and Polish forces, will they be designed and equipped the same way as the factions currently in the game? And they are saying no. The Winter War was a dramatically different style of fighting, and the new skirmish mode in Danzig will be a different experience altogether. We have a range of specific weapons tailored to the individual forces that will reflect the historical content for each battle space, while still maintaining a balanced gameplay experience. Now, they're not saying no vehicles here, but I would expect there not to be any tanks in this game mode. I don't know, maybe that's the case, but they didn't specifically say that. So maybe we just get some light tanks or some recon tanks or something like that. And lastly, another piece of really massive news, I think, is the implementation of free look. Is this being considered? They are saying yes. They are currently investigating whether it can be implemented or not. And this is another one of those features that I really want to see in the game. If you play a game that has free look like World War III or Postscriptum, going to HellaLoose and being unable to look to your sides when you're running is extremely annoying. So I hope this makes it into the game. I do wonder how they would add this to console. I think that would be a big barrier for this feature, but we'll have to just wait and see, like many other things here. Lastly, in-game reporting tools. Yes, they are going to be implementing a vote to kick system for console players in the near future. I think that means update 14. But they didn't go into specifics on when that's going to be the case. And yeah, then some DLC news and stuff like that. They were kind enough to include my beginner's guide to everything in this dev briefing. So if you haven't checked that out and you're new to the game, then definitely jump into that beginner's guide. The link for that will be down in the video description. So overall, I think potentially really good news, like the free look, like the server browser for console, non-verbal communications tools that won't be emotes, and a bunch of other things. The two maps for the British will be, I think, fan favorites because they are very iconic battles for World War II. I cannot wait to play El Alamein. I hope we do see specifically British tanks on those maps and not just the Sherman Firefly, which, you know, is mostly an American tank that we already have in the game with just a different gun. So I hope we see a Churchill or a Crusader or something like that. I think seeing those in-game would be absolutely amazing. And also some bad news regarding the current state of the game. It's going to be a pain in the ass to play the game until update 14 rolls out. There's no doubt about it. And I think that's really unfortunate for all of us who play the game regularly. Let me know what you think down in the comments section. I think it's basically a mixed bag here that we get with this dev briefing. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. As always guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel for more, and I will catch you in the next one.